Your other brother's playing football?
My other brother's playing football. Right now he's a third string at Indiana. We've been talking about that experience, about how he's been coached over there and what success they're having. Coach Cignetti, he's a great coach, and really props to them for turning that program around, and now they're 10-1. Although they're not a complacent program, it's still been an amazing jump to see them, and they're going to be really successful in the college football playoffs. So I'm really excited for my brother and the Indiana Hoosiers.
Coming into the 2025 season, most NFL draft analysts had 6, 7, 8, maybe even 10 quarterbacks ranked ahead of Fernando Mendoza. Arch Manning, Lenora Sellers, Cade Klubnik, Drew Allar, Sam Levitt, Garrett Nussmeier. The list goes on. Fernando Mendoza, nowhere to be found. Not even an honorable mention. And now he sits as the consensus #1 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. A Heisman Trophy winner, a national champion. This is the most improbable rise in modern draft history, and it starts with the most improbable turnaround in college football history, the Indiana Hoosiers. You can't appreciate what Mendoza did without understanding what Indiana football was before he got there. This is a program with 715 all-time losses, the most in the history of FBS football. Their last Big Ten title, 1967, a 58-year drought. The last bowl win, 1991. Their all-time Big Ten win percentage was .288, dead last amongst traditional members. Indiana wasn't just bad. They were historically, generationally, comically bad. And then Curt Cignetti showed up. Before Bloomington, Curt Cignetti was the most dangerous coach nobody in the Big Ten was talking about. At James Madison, where he was the head coach from 2019 to 2023, he amassed a staggering 52-9 record. He didn't just win, he specialized in the impossible. He took the Dukes from FCS dominance to the FBS level and instantly won a share of the Sun Belt East title in year 1. By 2023, his final year at JMU, he went 11-1 and had the program ranked in the top 25 for 6 straight weeks. When Indiana hired him, they weren't just hiring a coach, they were hiring a system that refused to lose. In his first year at Indiana, Cignetti did exactly what he did at JMU. He brought in roughly 20 transfers and turned a 3-win team into an 11-2 powerhouse. They reached their first ever college football playoff as a 10 seed, but then they hit the blue blood wall. In the 2024 college football playoffs, Indiana was beaten by Notre Dame. The game exposed the hard truth. Cignetti had built a good team out of veterans and transfers, but he didn't have the elite difference maker at quarterback to beat the Giants. He had a team that can compete, but he lacked the weapon that could finish. Cignetti knew he didn't need more stars. He needed a specific brain. He went 3,000 miles to get Fernando Mendoza because Mendoza was the ultimate force multiplier. Fernando Mendoza was a 2-star recruit out of Christopher Columbus High School in Miami. He had exactly one FBS scholarship offer, Cal Berkeley. Before that, he was committed to Yale. Let that sit in for a second. The guy who's about to go #1 overall this year in the draft was going to play football in the Ivy League. He went to Cal, a program with a rich history of producing first-round quarterbacks. Kyle Bowler, Aaron Rodgers, Jared Goff, all Cal prospects, all first-round picks. Mendoza played 3 seasons there. He threw for 3,004 yards and 16 touchdowns in 2024. Solid, not spectacular. But this didn't just come out of nowhere. In his second season at Cal, he went blow for blow with USC's Caleb Williams, the 2024 first overall pick, in a 49-50 loss. There were quality things on tape. The tools were there. He graduated from Berkeley, and he took his talents into the transfer portal on December 23rd, following Curt Cignetti to Indiana. The early dominance was staggering. They blew teams out. 7 wins by 30-plus points. This wasn't competitive. It was a program announcing itself to the world. Then came the statement wins. They went into Autzen Stadium and beat, at the time, number 3 Oregon 30-20. Indiana's first road win against a top 5 team ever. They went into Happy Valley and beat Penn State 27-24 in the most electric finish of the season. Penn State was 13-0 all-time at home against Indiana, and with 1:51 seconds left, Mendoza took a sack on the first down drive. Game over, right? Nope. He drove the ball 80 yards down the field and threw an alley-oop touchdown to Omar Cooper against 0 coverage with 36 seconds left. First win at Penn State ever. The Big Ten championship game, 13-10 over number 1 Ohio State. A lot of people didn't think they'd have a chance in the game against the Buckeyes, and they got it done. Mendoza's 17-yard touchdown to Elijah Surratt in the third quarter was the difference. 18.3 million viewers, the most watched conference championship game in college football history, Indiana's first Big Ten title since 1967. The playoff run was something else entirely. In their first playoff game, people thought Alabama and the SEC would be too tough for them. Every step of the way, this Indiana team just continued to dial it up and get it done. They demolished the Crimson Tide, 38-3 in the Rose Bowl. Alabama's worst loss in a bowl game in program history. Mendoza was 14 for 16, 3 touchdowns, 87.5 completion percentage, a 250.2 passer rating, both Rose Bowl records. Then they beat Oregon again in the Peach Bowl. Mendoza had 5 touchdowns and only 3 incompletions in that one. And then the national championship game, Indiana 27, Miami 21. And here's the thing, the game was in Miami, Mendoza's hometown, against the Hurricanes, a program that never recruited him, against that heralded Miami defense featuring Ruben Bain, Akeem Mesidor, Keontae Scott. And when they needed Fernando Mendoza the most, he got it done. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't sexy, it wasn't some massive output game, but he was incredible. Fourth quarter, 4th and 4 from the Miami 12. Cignetti burns a timeout, passes on the field goal, calls a QB draw. Mendoza takes it himself, breaks a tackle, scores a touchdown. The kid from Miami who nobody wanted just won a national championship in his own backyard against a team that passed on him. This is where the story becomes legendary. In college football, there is a blue blood ratio, a rule that says you need at least 50% of your roster to be 4- and 5-star recruits to win a title. Ohio State and Georgia routinely operate at 70 to 90% blue chip talent. Indiana's 2025 roster had a blue chip ratio of just 8%. They had 0 5-star recruits on the entire roster. On paper, Indiana was a collection of misfits and 3-stars who should have been physically overwhelmed by the elite. Mendoza's football nerd preparation allowed him to outprocess 5-star defenders. He was getting the ball out in 2.3 seconds before the blue chip pass rushers could even engage their blocks. He turned a roster of 3-star overachievers into a clinical scoring machine. Mendoza ignored the blue chip ratio. He led a team of rejects to a 16-0 season matching 126 years of Indiana program's history in a single winter. Mendoza wasn't just another transfer. He was the tactical upgrade that allowed Cignetti's JMU blueprint to finally work at the highest level of the sport. Now, let me tell you about the prospect because the story is incredible, but the tape and the numbers, they back it up. 3,535 passing yards, 41 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions, 72% completion percentage in 2025. Number 1 in the entire nation. He led the FBS in passing touchdowns and added 7 rushing touchdowns on top of that. 48 touchdowns total in 16 games. The efficiency is absurd. 3 games completing over 90% of his passes with 4+ touchdowns against P4 competition. He's the only FBS quarterback since at least 1996 to do that even twice. He did it 3 times. He was a red zone assassin. 27 red zone touchdowns, 0 interceptions, the most red zone TDs of any FBS quarterback this season. When you are that efficient in the most critical area of the field, that translates directly to the NFL. You cannot overstate how valuable that is. His best play style comparison to me is Jared Goff, an elite distributor who thrives in rhythm and system, surrounded by talent. When the offense is clicking, Mendoza executes at a level that is borderline unfair. But here's where he separates. He's got more athletic upside than Goff. He can hurt you with his legs. That 4th down touchdown run in the national championship game, that's not something you see Goff do often. Put Mendoza in the right system with the right coordinator and the right weapons, and he can be a top-tier quarterback at the next level. The accolades tell you everything. Heisman Trophy, Indiana's first in the award's 90-year history. Maxwell Award, Devy O'Brien Award, AP Player of the Year, Walter Camp, Chicago Tribune Silver Football, Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year, Big Ten Quarterback of the Year, College Football Championship, Offensive Player of the Game. He swept everything. Mendoza is going to go number 1 overall to the Las Vegas Raiders, and they need him desperately. The Raiders have had 4 head coaching tenures in 4 years. Now, Clint Kubiak, son of Super Bowl winning coach Gary Kubiak, is the incoming head coach, fresh off of coordinating a top 3 scoring offense in Seattle. The weapons are there. Brock Bowers is one of the best tight ends in football. Ashton Jeanty, their first-round pick from last year, put up over 1,300 scrimmage yards as a rookie behind a terrible offensive line. Imagine what he can do with a real quarterback. The O-line needs some work. Defense is another conversation, but Mendoza should be the most stable quarterback the Raiders have had since Derek Carr. And when you look across the NFL now, especially in this division he'll be playing in, the AFC West, it's just one of the most competitive quarterback divisions in football. You've got the Chiefs led by Patrick Mahomes, multiple-time MVP, multiple Super Bowl champ. You've got the Chargers led by Justin Herbert. In his second season, Bo Nix has led the Broncos to back-to-back playoff appearances with an AFC Championship berth this past season. So let's circle back to the beginning. 6, 7, 8, maybe even 10 quarterbacks ranked ahead of him. A 2-star recruit who committed to Yale. 1 scholarship offer, transferred to the program with the most losses in college football history. And in one season, 16-0. A Heisman Trophy, a national championship, won on a 4th-down quarterback draw in his own hometown against a team that never recruited him. And if you still want to underestimate the player with the unconventional post-game interviews, then you better be prepared to strap up and go to war for 60 minutes, because that's exactly what Fernando Mendoza is going to give you at the next level. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for more NFL draft prospect profiles. Let me know in the comments which prospect you want me to cover next, and check out the written description. Link is in the video.